Now, as you can see the various layers from this view. You've got the wood, and then you've got the card, and then on top of that you've got the stone, and then on that you've got the back seam. And I laid the back seam on its side to keep it as flat as possible. Now for this, I went to my local model shop and they've turned around and said to me that the best way to glue it was using some of their glue, especially for back seams. That will cost you $6.99, as it would do, because it's from a model shop and it'll always be more expensive. As for me, Queen of Lean, I always like to explore other options. So I've been using this, which is from the haberdashery shop, and this has cost me $1.99 for a 10-metre roll of double-sided tape, and that's what I've been using. Now, a word of warning when using this tape: you have to be pretty precise on when you place the back seam to make sure you get it right the first time, because it doesn't really allow for mistakes. So if you're a bit clumsy or you want to shift it, you want to play with it to move it slightly, it won't really allow you to do that. So that's a word of warning when using this. And what I've done then also for this is I've tacked the wood the card to the wood using the rocket card glue, like I said earlier. But it's also been tacked in with some track fixing pins, and what I'd used for that was this bradawl here to make a hole in the card, and then I just tacked it in with the hammer, and that sort of allows it to the glue to set without it moving anywhere. So that's what I've done. And then the next bit, as you can see, I've got to do here, which I will just show you live how I'm going to do it, rather than just show you. Now you've got these little tabs on the bottom, but I put them facing the bottom because obviously that's going to sit on the layout, and on the top you won't see it then, and that's the bit that you will see. So if I just simply move this along slightly, you can there you go, because then I can if you can see where the other bit butts in. So what I'll do is I'll get my rocket card glue. So just leave it there, just so I roughly know where to finish the glue line. So I'll just use that as a bit of a marker there. And then all you just do is you just spread it out like that. And then you just place it in. And then you just hold it for a few seconds while it sets. Okay, we've added all the sections for the wood, the coarse stone, and as you can see we've got these white lines, and that just indicates where the filler has been. And so now all the joints are now filled, so that's that next part done. And the other bit that I've been up to, if I take you down the end, you see that I've started I had some more of the ratio. If I show you the girder bridge sections, I don't have the codes because I've actually got spares, so I did actually keep the packaging, but it's from, sorry, not from ratio, it's from Wheels girder kits, and you get them in sections. And if I show you how they come, so you can have a look at these sections, and basically they come like this, and you basically cut each section off, each square, you glue them with plastic cement, and you basically just keep adding them together until you get the right length that you require. And if I show you on the actual layout, for this particular section I only needed 3 bits, so that's that. I've then started using some more stanchions, which is what I've done now. I need to complete the end there. And as you can see, once again I've filled that in. Now up until this point, I'll be honest, I had a plan as to what I was going to be doing with as far as painting it concerned. Now originally, if I take you to this tunnel mouth, I'd cut the ends off and basically I kept them and I painted them up in this colour, and this is like a stone colour, and I was quite happy with that, and that was precisely what I was going to do. But then today, and this is actually true, in the latest edition of Model Rail, which is this one here, and I'll give you the details in case you seem to read it, in case you see this video in say 6 months time or whatever. It's basically the Model Rail edition for June 2014, which is at the time of filming the current edition that we have. In there is a little supplement by the Art of Maverick Modelling. That's what you get within this, and in this section there's a bit on how to use precisely the coarse stone walling that I'm using. So I'm now going to be testing out the technique. So I'm just trying to work it out, and I've been reading it, and I actually bought, it says that you need to buy some wood dye. So, and this is the actual wood dye I got this wood dye from Wilco's today. So I'm going to be experimenting with that. I've already sort of experimented already. Now if I just sort of show you this little test bed here, this is the original one that I painted up. This little section here I painted up direct onto the coarse stone as is. This section here was primed in white primer, and then I used the wood dye on top of that, and as you can see, to me on the eye there isn't much of a difference. And then this piece here is one that's just been painted on top of this one here. So this is what it was originally, and then when I added the wood dye it came out like this. Now there is various steps to doing this as well, it isn't just doing the wood dye. So apparently you need some talcum powder and some black spray paint. So at the moment I'm still testing it, so I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to do it. But my concern lies that if I try to put the dye on as is, that the filler that you can see on the patches will show through, which is why I'm considering just painting it so you don't see any of the filler. And also I've got to blend the tunnel mouth in with the coarse stone here. So that's why I'm thinking that I'm just going to paint it all in the stone colour like this first. Then I'm going to give it this treatment here, which I think was really good, and then I'm going to test the talcum powder theory on top of that, which is what the magazine suggests. So that's how I'm going to be experimenting with that. So my next job is actually just to paint the whole retaining wall in the original stone colour, which is this, and then depending on how things go with the testing will depend the further treatments that I am going to do. So now it's just a matter of, a bit like the wood, is to unify everything together. Whereas before it was all scrap wood, then we've painted it all up in one colour. It's almost the same with the retaining wall. So that's my next job. Welcome back, and the stone wall has now been painted, and this is just the first stage of the process. And the colour I've used is this Rail Match paint, and it's a GWR dark stone and the number for it is, I think it's 607. So that's the colour for it, in case any of you are interested. So that's the first stage of that, and the whole section of the wall has been treated in this manner. So the first stage is to paint it in the dark stone colour. Over here we have the second stage, and as you can see, the arch, which is completely a different colour, is now all unified, and you can probably see that it's glistening, and it's very shiny at the minute. And if I touch it, it's still a bit tacky. It's been drying overnight and it's still tacky, which is a good thing, because the process involves that obviously we use, according to the modelling book from this week's model rail, that from Alan, what's his name, Alan Downs I think it is, you use this, use a die, and I think as he said a Georgian medium oak wood die, which is this. But he used Coloron, I think it was the product, whereas I've just used a Wilco's version of it. I'm not exactly sure what the difference is, or whether it would have been better using the one that he suggested, but this is the one that I've used anywho. Now the thing is with this, you give it a good old shake, and what you do is you apply it flat. So, and when I say flat, sorry, just like this, you've got your board there and you just have to apply it flat like that, because what happens is the die will basically, if I take a big section out, I should have probably done this first, it will seep into all the recesses, which is why it's very easy to use, because the liquid will just find its way in through all the recesses. And what you have to do with it is you have to use a stippling motion, and I will show you exactly what I mean. Now this is our first process, well, our second process. So this is just a practice piece that I've got here, and this is just that cut off one of the tunnel edges, and what this has already been pre-painted anyway, but I'm going to have to go over this again anywho, because of the fact that it's the wrong colour, because I ran out of paint. So I'm going to have to do this bit anyway, but I'm just using it as a show you piece. So this has actually got some paint on it on top of the plastic. If I just show you the other side, you'll see it's just the plastic from the tunnel mouth. So this is how you start. Now you grab your paintbrush, and all you do is you just dip it in, and as soon as you can see, it just creeps into all the recesses. Now what you do is you just stipple it in, and you just go all the way around the whole product, and that's what you do. You do it for all of that, and it doesn't matter, you don't have to be overly careful with it, because it doesn't matter if it's a completely random sort of pattern really. And what you can do is, now the problem is, because it's quite thin, if you try and lift it for it to dry, the dye will come out of all the recesses and will just trickle down, and it won't actually sit in there. Whereas if you do it like this, as you can see, it all looks a bit, I'll just raise it slightly, you can see how it sort of looks. It looks different. It's all recessed. All the wood dye's gone into all the little nooks and crannies, which is exactly how you want to do it. And this is a very, very quick process. You can see how in minutes this has been done. Then what you have to do is you leave this overnight, and you have to leave it to dry flat like this, because if you, like I said, if you leave it to dry sort of upright, it won't take effect. So you need it to dry flat so it can go tacky.